Gold Derbyites, here we are, post Golden Globes. Everyone's picking their jaws up off the floor after some big award shockers. A great night for films like Borat, subsequent movie film, Nomadland and Soul, who all picked up 2 awards. Schitt's Creek and The Crown did very well on the TV side of things. Joyce, let's start with you. I'm Matt Noble, here joined by Joyce, Marcus, and Chris. And Joyce, let's kick things off with you. What's your big takeaway from tonight at the Globes?
They were incredibly rubber stampy with TV. I mean, if you just copied most of the Emmy winners, you would have probably gotten a perfect score. And then they saved the craziness for film at the end with Andra Day and also Jodie Foster in supporting actress. So, but even though I got those wrong, I kind of love it because they're not nominated at SAG. So we'll have different winners there. And Jodie's not even nominated at Critics' Choice. So I'm glad we won't have like a full sweep of the acting winners like we did last year.
Yeah. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I was pretty shocked with the last few winners there. I thought it was like Joyce was saying. I think it's fun that like there's not as much of a rubber stamp there. Andra Day, I think I had in 4th maybe or 5th. I just was so shocked that she won because I felt like Carey Mulligan would win, but I certainly could have made the argument for Viola or Frances McDormand. But no, yeah. So I think that's shocking. I was like very pleasantly surprised to see that because I think that like makes that race really interesting. And then Jodie Foster, like that whole category was kind of a mess because Maria Bakalova was Best Actress in a Comedy, which she didn't even win, which was amazing.
Crazy.
And so she doesn't even win that. And then it's like, oh, well, maybe Glenn Close will win or whoever else. And then no, Jodie Foster. Yeah. And it's funny. Both of those wins were great because both the actresses were completely shocked and genuinely so. Those were 2 of the best actual broadcast moments because you could tell Jodie Foster was like, this is ridiculous. How did I just win? She had no illusions that she was going to win. So yeah, no, those were definitely a lot of fun.
And got more screen time with her dog. So
the dog was great. And then Nomadland winning Best Picture, I think like I had picked Chicago 7, but I don't think it's an upset that Nomadland won. Obviously it's a favorite. And I think that just means it continues to be a favorite.
Yeah. Marcus?
I put this in our live blog, but the 2 lead actress winners, Rosamund Pike and Andra Day, they are both on the bubble to even get nominated at the Oscars. So this totally shakes up that race. This is when we talk about the importance of the Golden Globes. It's only 87 people, but they have this huge influence. And now these 2 ladies are going to be, just watch their odds are going to climb at Gold Derby for the Oscars now. I may put one, if not both of them in. I don't know which one. But those were both shocking. The Jodie Foster thing was shocking, but a lot of the other ones were kind of predictable. I mean, Chadwick Boseman, we all thought he would do it. And that speech was amazing from was that his girlfriend?
His wife.
His wife. Oh, that was probably my favorite speech of the night. Sacha Baron Cohen winning for Borat was pretty well documented. Personally, I'm very happy that Hamilton didn't win because it's not a film. I absolutely loved the stage play that was on Disney Plus. It was one of my favorite things of that year, 2020, but it's not a film. It shouldn't have been in this category, and I'm glad it didn't win. Now they can remake it into a film, which they will do in 5 to 10 years, and then it can win as many Golden Globes as it wants to.
Yeah. It's interesting how we focused on these shockers that we had in the film categories really were people that are on the bubble for Oscar nominations, not people who are like the dark horses in the race or 2nd or 3rd in our Oscar races. And the really interesting thing about that is usually that might not have too much of an impact because we've got Oscar nominations usually are announced very shortly after the Globes and sort of voting's already happened. But voting for the Oscar nominees starts later this week. And because of that, that means these now bubble contenders are being put in the limelight at the time when they sort of need it the most. So it's going to be very interesting to see if they can sort of parlay a Globe win into an Oscar nomination, which would be really, really cool. What Marcus was just talking about the Borat subsequent movie film wins on the comedy side. He didn't think Hamilton sort of was in the right place here. Chris, what do you think about the comedy sort of races and how they panned out tonight? Big night for Borat with lead actor and comedy film wins.
Yeah, I was disappointed because I was like, I didn't think it was going to sweep all three. So it was up for best comedy, obviously best actress in a comedy, and best actor where it was favored. I wanted to see Andy Samberg win best actor. I picked that but for Palm Springs because I just felt like Palm Springs was a really great movie. I think it was a lot of fun. And I also, because he's a former host and he won for Brooklyn Nine-Nine at the Globes, I was just like, oh, they're going to just like give him the award. And I also thought Sasha maybe would win best supporting actor for Chicago 7. So I was like, well, he could win somewhere else. So that was a little disappointing. I was, again, and Maria Bakalova, I guess I just was surprised that she didn't win. I mean, Rosamund Pike, again, another actress, I think, that has, probably a good pull with the Globes, but I was just like, again, I thought like she would maybe not win over that. So that was definitely surprising. But I think that's an interesting thing is like Mark was saying, like for her and for Andra Day, both those movies came out within the last like 2 weeks. They're very late to this game. And now because of the Globes, I think that's how the Globes, like Mark was saying, that's how the Globes matter, because like people are now going to actually pay attention to those movies, maybe more so than they would have previously. Because if they just didn't win anything, maybe it's just like, well, who cares? I know like I Care a Lot is like the top movie on Netflix, but that doesn't really necessarily mean anything. So yeah, I think that's how that will change that race, whether or not they get in and how the rest of the season kind of shakes out. With the other shows, I guess we'll see. But I think that was like, those are pretty big. But yeah, so for Rosamund Pike, and it's a comedy, sure. I mean, like they're fine. It's fine. I just wish Andy Samberg would have won, basically.
We talked ourselves into Andy Samberg for 3 days ago. So.
We did. Joyce and I were very pro Andy Samberg. I guess I should have known better because like Kristen Milioti was not nominated, which I know, and I big said snub. And like obviously that kind of maybe affected it. But yeah, justice for Palm Springs is what I'm trying to say, basically.
Yeah, I do think it's a bit disappointing that with the nominations, in a sense, it really was Borat, which, did what it did very well, but was sort of like a very different sort of film in terms of like a lot of sketches and broad comedy and stuff type stitched together. And Hamilton, which is a stage show filmed that we didn't really get an opportunity for films like Palm Springs and even like things that didn't even get nominated, like On the Rocks, which were just nice comedic stories to sort of have as much of a spotlight this year at the Globes. Films that are more heavily sort of on
it just felt like they were pretty lazy with the comedy categories because they just, except with Maria Bakalova losing, like they just, I mean, we know they like Rosamund Pike because she also got in a couple years ago for A Private War. So I had her in second. I actually like this afternoon when I was like looking like over my predictions, I considered moving her, but then I was like, I think Borat is winning something, and I like everyone. I had Maria winning, but yeah, I think with like film and lead actor, like none of those nominees in either of those categories are really in contention for an Oscar, so they could have gone crazy and given to someone, not Borat or Sacha Baron Cohen, but they just kind of went with what we expected. Like the consensus was going to be Borat and Sacha. And also, if you predicted Sacha to win both of those categories, then you got half of them right, because that was like the safest thing to do. We didn't know if he's going to win both or one of them.
I should have picked both. I should have done them for both then, is what you're saying, Joe.
I only didn't choose supporting actor.
And the really interesting thing is that years ago, Borat won those two categories last time. It was at the Globes for the original film, I believe.
He won the film.
Did the film not win?
The film, I think it was it was Dreamgirls.
Was that the Dreamgirls year?
Yeah, it was Dreamgirls. Yeah, but he's the first person to win that category twice for playing the same character.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. That's good history. That's why I have Joyce on the chat to make sure I don't get anything wrong.
Another thing.
I mean, that legendary Dreamgirls win. How can you forget?
Yeah.
Another thing at Gold
Tom will be very upset with me.
We didn't predict was Diane Warren winning for The Life Ahead.
Oh my God, yeah.
I haven't checked the odds, but I'm guessing that was not in the top 2 or 3.
I think it was like
last.
tied. I think it had the same odds as like the bottom 3 songs or something.
Yeah. That was another one I got wrong. I got a lot wrong in my prediction.
I think we all probably got like 30%.
I had Speak Now, I believe, from one night.
I think most of us had Speak Now.
Yeah, to be fair, like when everybody gets it wrong, we're all sharing in the loss together, so it's not as bad.
That's a nice way to look at it.
Yeah,
we're not stupid. We're just collectively stupid.
What do you guys think of the Jodie Foster win?
Yeah,
that was like, I mean, I think that's still good for Glenn Close because she didn't lose to Amanda, who is not nominated at SAG. And she didn't lose to Olivia Coleman, you know, her other Oscar nemesis. But Jodie beat her again. So I think Glenn can still win at SAG. Jodie is not nominated there, and Jodie's not nominated at Critics' Choice, which is next week. I think Critics' Choice has like 7 nominees or something, and Jodie's not one of them.
Watch them add her.
So they're probably very upset about that.
They're gonna add her to the nomination.
Yeah, but they don't have to do a tie in the category now. So.
Yeah, I think Jodie Foster, veteran performance. Obviously that film got a surprise lead actor nomination as well, so obviously it struck a chord with Globe voters. And look, she's in the hunt now. I don't think a Jodie Foster nomination at the Oscars would be surprising now, and that category is a bit all up in the air. So it'd be interesting to see when we have our 5 nominees where it all sort of lands and how the sort of odds come. That could be where we see a surprise on Oscar night. As well, the supporting actress race. Yeah. What do we think was the best moment at the awards? Marcus?
In terms of wins, I really loved, even though everyone and their mother predicted Gillian Anderson would win, it's still good when the person you think wins should win. When you think that it's still good when the person you think should win does win. And she gave the performance of the year for me. And so I was so happy when but she also gave one of the worst speeches. Sorry, Gillian, but all she did was rattle off name after name after name. And I'm like, what are you doing? So that was kind of my favorite moment because I really was rooting for her.
Yeah. Chris?
I actually want to go, I thought from an emotional standpoint, I thought the Chadwick Bosen win was amazing, and I thought his wife's speech was really great. And I thought it tied in nicely with earlier in the night. I'm going to sound like a 3 million-year-old person, but I know that was like a TikTok bit that they did with the guy like quizzing the kids about like pop culture, and they didn't know anything about anybody, who Jane Fonda was or anything. And then they all knew Black Panther and Chadwick Boseman. And I thought that part was like really touching because I think it just showed how incredible his performance as Black Panther meant from like a cultural standpoint. So I think that coupled with the speech that his wife gave was like really incredibly moving. And like for a show that was a kind of monstrous disaster, I thought it was so bad so often. But I thought that was like out of the darkness of the show, like that was such a light of emotion and positivity in such sad circumstances. So I really like that. That would be my pick as like the best moment.
Joyce?
Yeah, I think like all the emotional moments were really great, like his wife's speech and Norman Lear's speech and Jane Fonda, Queen, her speech. But my personal favorite moment was the TV comedy actor nominees like dragging Tracy Morgan for saying Saul. And then especially before the commercial break. So it's the little things.
That was really
I gotta say that was another weird thing about the show is that like it's seemingly that they seem to put all the nominees in like a breakout room from like Zoom.
It's like their green room.
And like while they were waiting, and not a lot of them seemed to know that they were going to maybe do that. Like you had like the best drama actors. Al Pacino just looked like what the heck? Right. He was just like, what am I doing here? And like Bob Odenkirk is trying to like keep it moving and keep it light. And like it was just it was so bizarre. And like even like when they won, it seemed like they were still in that breakout room. So like when Jason Sudeikis was giving his speech, Don Cheadle was like goofing on him and like being like, wrap it up. And I was just like, wow,
this was amazing though.
It was amazing, but it's just so weird. That was so weird.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't send out a memo to everyone about like how it was all going to go down.
I was saying to my friend, like, we maybe forget because the Emmys were 3 million years ago, but the Emmys broadcast was really well done. I thought it was like, in hindsight, like amazing, and how the production value was so good for doing it remotely. And I feel like they spent weeks doing it. And it just felt like this show, they were like, oh, it's tomorrow? Should we send them Zoom invites? I guess so. Well, they'll be fine. They'll figure it out. Just make sure they have like a laptop and maybe a working Wi-Fi connection, and it'll work fine. So it was amazing.
I mean, that's like what we expect the Globes anyway, even if it's in person. It's just mess and like sloppiness. So it's kind of fitting, even though it was interminable 3 hours and 2 minutes.
Did we like Amy and Tina? Because I feel like they're usually more, not quite like a Ricky Gervais level of mean, but they are usually, they pick on people more than they did this time.
They did not have a James Cameron-esque burn this time. But like the Emily and Puri one was pretty good. Yeah. The James Corden one was kind of good too. I don't know. I have to rewatch it because I was like half paying attention to it. I think it's, I think they did the best they could do being on 2 different coasts. So like the in-person like chemistry isn't there, but like their virtual chemistry is still kind of good. And I felt like the timing was pretty good too until Tina Fey stepped on Amy's line introducing Norman Lear later on. But yeah, and then I thought there were just like way too many comedy bits overall with like all like the packages, and it's like you're cutting people's speeches off. You don't have any, they don't usually have clips of like the nominees except for the film nominees, but it's like we kind of need that when it's a pandemic show and there's not like the nominees aren't in the room. So I felt like it needed something to liven up like the procedural aspect of the show more.
It did feel like SNL for a while there. I mean, Amy and Tina, Keenan, Maya, Kristen Wiig. I mean, they were all doing all their sketches, which I liked the sketches. I know a lot of people didn't. So suck it, I guess.
I thought it was interesting. I saw somebody say this on Twitter. Kenan Thompson did SNL last night, right? And then he flew to LA then to participate in the Golden Globes when they had half the show in New York. I just found that fascinating. Like,
I think because he's shooting his
I guess so.
So Kenan,
right? So maybe he had to be there anyway.
Yeah.
No, I thought they were fine. I thought like Joyce was saying, I think that the energy in their not being in the same room hurt. And also it seemed like the New York audience was a lot more excited that the very few people that were there from first responders and stuff, they were more into it than the California audience. At least that was the vibe I was getting. Like when
LA's too jaded, they're too used to the Globes. New York
like the New York audience, it was like, oh, Rosie Perez got like Ben Stiller. It seemed like they were having more fun in the room maybe than like what was going on in LA.
I like the bit where Amy and Tina were like reaching across to touch each other. I wish they had done more stuff like that to play up the fact that they really were, in different locations, but they could still have more fun with it than they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. We spent a bit of time at the beginning talking about the sort of film categories, but what about the TV races? Like in some ways, I was predicting Ted Lasso to win Best Comedy Series, partly because I thought it would go with the Jason Sudeikis win, and partly because the Globes we often see new shows get rewarded, and I was worrying maybe Schitt's Creek's a bit old, and also it just won a lot of Emmys. Maybe they, the Globes want to go, well, we want to put our stamp of approval on Ted Lasso and sort of just be in with the new. But they went back to Schitt's Creek. They went with The Crown, which is in its fourth season, which is also not a new show. I was tempted that in the morning to switch my prediction to The Mandalorian, just because that's sort of the buzzy sort of show that Globe voters might go for. Then I was going through all the acting categories. I'm like, boy, there's so many Crown actors nominated. They've got to go with The Crown. Like, I was just predicting The Crown to win all the acting things. So they sort of embraced not the fresh, new, shiny shows this year. What do you think about that, Joyce?
Yeah, they were atypically rubber stampy. Like The Crown and Schitt's Creek have a combined age of 10.
Yeah.
which is like crazy to think that, you know, the Globes will give a combined age of 10 awards to, like, you know, two shows that old. But, you know, I think with drama, I think they just didn't have a lot of options. Especially when you look at the drama series category, like Chris and I talked about this other day, it's just like, there's just nowhere else you're going to go to, because like Lovecraft and Mandalorian, the series nomination was their only one. They've never really liked Ozark, and I think, you know, Ratchet's the only new show, but it was also like, you know, it had mixed reviews, and they've kind of like steered away from awarding mixed review shows. And, you know, The Crown had a great 4th season, and it's the first show to reclaim the award after losing, and the only other show to win this non-consecutively was The X-Files, but it was snubbed completely in between its first and second wins. And then Schitt's Creek, yeah, I thought they were going to do the pairing with Jason and Ceres, but then they did the pairing with Catherine and Schitt's Creek. So I guess, you know, it's just another one of their catch-up wins, like they did with Breaking Bad, you know, another show they never really loved, but the last season was such a behemoth that it was too big for them to ignore. So they finally gave it Ceres and Bryan Cranston, actor. And then, you know, a couple years ago, they gave just drama series to The Americans, like not even an acting award. So I think they have like some awareness of like not wanting to look too dumb and missing out on things. Like other times, like they don't care if like they don't ever award a show like Veep. Like Julie Louis-Dreyfus never won a Globe for Veep, you know. And I mean, Game of Thrones is a different thing because the last season was crap. So it's like, who cares that they didn't give it to series ever? But, you know, it won its first season for Peter Dinklage, so it had to win at some point. So, yeah, but then, you know, The Crown won 4 awards. It's the most wins for a show since Big Little Lies. So it's just kind of like, yeah, they were just like, it felt like they were like defaulting to it, even though it's sort of new with a new cast. So, you know, Josh and Emma and Jillian, all new cast members to them. So it's not like completely, you know, recycling wins, I guess.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because the like I do think the Diana and Charles thing was such a big part of this season, and I think that is really in the wheelhouse of foreign journalists. Like, I do think it really like hit the sort of sweet spot of what they like. We obviously know the foreign press had a big role in sort of the whole Princess Diana story and paparazzi and all that sort of stuff. So we'll see how they enjoy the next season of The Crown. But poor Olivia Coleman, like the only Crown actor that didn't win.
These are her first losses ever.
Yeah, and she could have won in film this year. They could have had all the Crown actors win a Globe tonight.
She has enough. She has 3 Globes. Well, Olivia, I think you have enough, and you would have been.
Listen, at least she showed up, unlike Jodie Comer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony Hopkins, Jodie Comer, and Kate Blanchett seemed like they all decided against attending.
So
Kate didn't even attend the Emmys. Is
Mark Ruffalo going to keep winning at every award show?
That is still like the weirdest. Like this is that's another like default sweep. And like he continues to be like the only nomination for that show too.
Yeah, I picked Hugh Grant. I just felt like that was such an easy Globes layup to win, especially because I felt like The Undoing would win something because it was so popular at the very least. But no, yeah, Ruffalo won. That was that was one of the many predictions where I was like perhaps overthinking it. Like I should have just went, like Joyce was saying, with like the rubber stamp of it all, because
they don't usually rubber stamp this much. That's the thing.
No, but they really did all over the place. I was like Ted Lasso. Yeah, that should win instead of Schitt's Creek. Maybe they won't want to.
Only three Emmy winners won, and that was Schitt's Creek, Catherine O'Hara, and Mark Ruffalo. So the 8 other ones were new.
Yeah. I've been burnt too many times before not picking Mark Ruffalo, so I went with him. I mean, like this performance. Oh boy!
You went from Russell Crowe to Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, there you go. Do you have Marcus? Do you have any thoughts on the TV races on Crown and? And shit?
Yeah, I usually don't like when a show wins twice, even though, as Joyce said, the Crown was not consecutive wins. but still, this was their best season ever, and I really can't imagine them topping themselves with season 5 and 6. I really think this could be the crown of the crown. And Schitt's Creek was just such a good show. I'm a little surprised it won comedy series because it is so old and they don't want to look like they're copying the Emmys. So I had Ted Lasso winning. But I mean, they also don't like being seen as like the uncool kid who's like, oh, well, the Globes didn't give Schitt's Creek a win and everyone else did. We'll see that with the SAG Awards. I think SAG is just gonna, do the exact same thing.
It could be. Look, like winning a Globe doesn't always lead to winning an Emmy, so it could be a good news for Ted Lasso. They didn't win this, and the Emmys can go like, oh, we can be the first show to give. We can be the ones who give Ted Lasso the series win. So that could be exciting. What do we Nomadland? We haven't talked as much about that. Like, what does that mean in the context? It won Best Director and Best Picture. Leiter in the chat room says, I don't think Nomadland is winning the Oscar now. What do we think about Nomadland moving forward, Chris?
I mean, I still think it's the favorite. I don't have it predicted to win, but I do think it's the favorite to win. I think Chloe Zhao will definitely win Best Director. I just feel like that she's going to cruise. We're going to see her win at the Critics' Choice Awards and then at BAFTAs and then, kind of continue on to win the Oscar. I still think Nomadland is the favorite. I could see Chicago 7 or honestly at this point, depending on how it does at SAG, I could see Minade being like the number 2 and potentially winning Best Picture over both Nomadland and Chicago 7. I think that could have the late momentum that maybe we saw from like Parasite last year too. So, but I think Nomadland did what it needed. It needed to win these two probably. I mean, as much as we said, like the Globes don't mean anything because there's no crossover and whatever. But I mean, if it was going to continue on as a favorite, I think it needed to win tonight. And so it did. And it's still the favorite. So that's how I view it.
Yeah. Joyce?
Yeah, like this was a big get for Nomadland, but in the past like half decade, only 2 like Globe winners, like either from drama or comedy musical, went on to win the Oscar, which is Moonlight and Green Book. So it doesn't always correlate to a Best Picture win, especially because they use a different ballot, the preferential ballot. But this is good for Nomadland to just still be ahead of the pack in visibility. Like it didn't lose to what a lot of people are presuming would be, helped by the preferential ballot, which is Chicago 7. So I agree with Chris. Like I think Chloe has director locked up, regardless of what happens in Best Picture for Nomadland. And I agree that I think Minade could be coming on strong. I have it second in SAG Ensemble right now, and I know Marcus has it in first. And I think that speech by Lee Isaac Chung tonight for Best Foreign Language Film really helped it a lot.
Yeah. What do you want to comment on that, Marcus? Now, like, I don't think that the film should have been in the foreign language film. We should have seen it going head to head with Nomadland and the Globes in the drama race. But Marcus, do you want to weigh in on those two?
Yeah, I absolutely loved Lee's speech where he addressed the controversy, but not in a controversial way. He basically said, this film is about the language of love, and I hope that everyone out there can speak that language. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's perfect. I do have Minari winning SAG Ensemble and Best Picture. I would have loved to see it go head to head against Nomadland, but now like both take home Golden Globes. So maybe it was a blessing in disguise that it didn't have to compete against at this stage.
The other thing with Minade, not to talk myself into winning Best Picture at the Oscars, which maybe I just will, but I mean, the idea is like the Best Picture winner is probably gonna, you would think, like historically, maybe win an acting award, right? And like for Nomadland, that's probably not gonna happen because even though Frances McDormand is great, I think she's probably still not the top choice there. But I think a supporting actress is such a wide open now. I could definitely see like Yu Young winning like that category. I could see her winning at SAG maybe, and potentially, or just winning the Oscar even if she doesn't win at SAG, because I think that is going to be like, this does feel like one of those years where supporting actress is going to be up in the air until the night of, and then all of a sudden it just wins. And if the passion for Minade is there, then maybe she wins Best Supporting Actress and it wins, Best Picture, and maybe takes home like one other Oscar. I could definitely see that. So yeah,
we're rooting for different winners at every precursor in
Yeah.
Supporting Actress, like
Yeah.
2007 now.
That's what it feels like, right? Like 2007 is what I was thinking of when like Tilda won. So I'm like, maybe that's like going to be.
I mean, I can see it because like there's so many snubs everywhere, but although I feel slightly better now about not having Maria Bakalova in my Oscar predictions because it was just so crowded and I didn't have her in, and she lost the Globe, which we all thought she was a shoo-in for. And now I'm just wondering, like, would she have still beaten Jodie Foster if she stayed in supporting at the Globes?
I think so, but we'll never know.
We are due for our next crop of panelists now. The rest of you stay on until we're joined by the others, which are going to be Charles, Riley, and Daniel. So hopefully they'll be joining us soon. And Riley, who's been doing such an admirable job in our control room, will probably bring people on, take them off, do whatever he's doing. While we're having those people join us, are there any final thoughts from the three of you that have been with us?
No. Okay.
No. No.
All the thoughts have been had. Chris, any last thoughts?
No, I could say hopefully the Oscars watched that. Hopefully the producer of the Oscars watched the Golden Globes and took very thorough notes on how to do a better job. I would say, just from a production standpoint.
Since ABC had the Emmys last year and they have the Oscars, obviously, I think we'll be okay.
Hopefully, that's that was a tough look, but no. Otherwise, it was a fun night.
Lots of.
I'm going to assume that this is a part of a bit that Charlie's doing, so I'll leave him on, and hopefully we're not invading his privacy.
I can't believe it!
Was this Inception? Inception was a few years ago, Charlotte.
No, I trashed my apartment.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Rosamund Pike, you owe me a monitor. You go on the list with Margot Martindale.
Oh no! What are you? So you're upset with the comedy actress race?
I mean, how? I mean,
they were just trolling us because they knew we were all picking her, and then they went the opposite way with the Borat wins.
Those. No. I don't like it. I'm like it one bit.
Now I'm not the biggest.
Nope. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. Nope. I refuse to accept it.
I'm not the biggest Borat subsequent movie film fan. Like I probably wouldn't have voted for in any of the categories, but it is bizarre. You would think Sacha Baron Cohen deserves the Best Actor award, but not Maria. Like it's a similar type of performance. If it's that your jam, you would think that you'd vote for both.
She was in the wrong category.
Yeah. Potentially. Do you have any final thoughts, Marcus?
Lots of diverse winners. I was wondering if the controversy would maybe change the way they voted, and we'll never know if it did or not. But Andra Day won, Chadwick Boseman, Daniel Kaluuya, John Boyega. A lot of diversity in the winners list. It was very. They're going to get a lot of heat off of their backs because they did that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Marcus, Chris, and Joyce, for joining us for the first half of this chat. Thank you so much for all your thoughts, contributions, and commentary.
Hi.
Okay. Now they're out of the way. We're welcoming, formally welcoming Charles, Riley, and Daniel to the chat. Charlie's already shared some stuff. Daniel, what's top of your mind? at the moment?
A couple of things. The interesting thing is, man, if you wanted to win a Golden Globe, open in February. Daniel Kaluuya won for Judas and the Black Messiah, which wasn't a big surprise. But then Rosamund Pike and I Care a Lot and Andra Day and United States versus Billie Holiday were big surprises. Nomadland, technically too, that just came out on Hulu. Yeah, after a limited, I'm not even sure what all of the qualifying things were, but I think it came out in December in some form or another. But yeah, like opening late was huge, and weirdly so. It's unusual that you would see this many late breaking contenders like at the last minute come out, and then they're the Globe winners. Mortanian too, I think fits in that category too. I think that just opened in VOD this month, so it's interesting. All of that, but though I'm thrilled for Nomadland. I really that winning picture and director was thrilling. I feel so happy for Andra Day, but I am bummed for Carey Mulligan. I wanted to see her start kind of an awards romp tonight. But I think it's okay. I think Mulligan can still win the Oscar, especially because she didn't lose to like Viola. I think that would have been the most damaging thing to her Oscar chances.
Yeah, I'm just hearing they're gonna give her a mulligan.
Boo! Boo!
Apologies. Riley, weigh in.
Well, first of all, Daniel, is that a lighter shade of red that you've changed into?
Yes, I switched shirts because during the pre-show I wore a bow tie and I was looking at the same bow tie. I was like, can anyone even tell that I'm wearing a bow tie? Because it all looked like it was bleeding into each other. So I chose a different shirt.
Yeah, I'm still wearing the
and
same.
Also, I'm with the red on white. I'm sort of channeling the Rosamund Pike of it all.
Mm. Yeah, see, I was worrying that my non-white shirt would not be in the spirit of the Golden Globes, but this was actually a good night for diversity at the Golden Globes. I was actually quite satisfied with a lot of the winners. None of them lined up with my predictions, of course. So that was a little new. I don't know if I have much to offer in terms of looking into the future as a pundit. Maybe my skills are more looking into the past. But I feel like the Golden Globes, they awarded a lot of films and shows that a lot of people are going to be really happy, won a major award.
Yeah. The wealth was to some degree spread tonight over a range of films. I don't believe any film winning more than 2 Globes tonight is correct. Yes.
Yeah, that was Borat, Nomadland, and Soul with 2 appearances.
Yeah.
Sal or Sal.
But yeah, we got
Better Call Saul is going to be the prequel to the film.
But yeah, we got that best film drama category, and I was really wondering, what's going to win, because we hadn't really been given much indication based on what had been winning in the night to that point.
Yeah, I kind of felt like it was gonna. I kind of felt like though by the time that best film drama came up, that it was going to be between Nomadland and Trial of Chicago 7. But also, with some of the wins that we had been seeing, I didn't put it beyond myself at that point that maybe it would be something like like what you were predicting, Riley, Promising a Woman, or The Father, even. I mean, it was. I really still was pretty much up for anything at that point.
Yeah. What was the biggest? There were a lot of shockers, particularly on the film side of things. What was the biggest surprise for you, Daniel?
I would say probably Andra was surprising, but I feel like we'd heard that the Golden Globes really liked that movie. I was predicting her to win Best Song because I thought they might want to take care of her. So I should get half credit for predicting that she would win a Golden Globe, just in the wrong place. I would say Jodie Foster, because I thought Maria Bakalova was a front runner for Borat, but the fact that she was beaten by Rosamund Pike honestly wasn't a huge shocker, especially because they took care of Borat with 2 other wins. But Jodie, of all the people who could have won that, especially given how up in the air that is with Amanda Seyfried, Olivia Coleman, and Glenn Close, that felt like Jodie was the last place I was expecting that surprise to come from, personally. So that was pretty huge, and no one in that category at the Oscars is a lock for a nomination, even, except maybe Olivia Coleman. I could see any of the other major contenders not being nominated at the Oscars, and so that's really good news for Jodie Foster right now.
Yeah. No, I agree. Any thoughts on that, Charles?
I think actually for me, probably the biggest surprise was not Rosamund Pike, because I think if a lot of people had her second. So, if Maria Bakalova was going to lose, Rosamund Pike definitely feels like it was like that was a realistic chance. For me, I think it was probably Andra Day. That was because she is so on the bubble right now, and we don't even know if she and Best Actress feels like there are 3 or 4 solid confirmed locks, and then you have like that, and then just like 1 or 2 slots are open, and could that lead to her? And I don't know what to make of that. It's something I'm still processing, but for me that was the biggest surprise.
I wonder if that maybe, because I was thinking there are maybe 4 locks for Best Actress, and now I'm wondering if there are 3 locks with McDormand, Viola Davis, and Carey Mulligan. And I think maybe Andra Day maybe even moves ahead of Vanessa Kirby, because, Pieces of a Woman doesn't have a whole lot of other support from awards groups other than her and sometimes Ellen Burstyn. And the same thing might be true of United States versus Billie Holiday. It might get a sound or a costume, but it was snubbed on the Oscar shortlists for the song and for its makeup and hairstyling. So which one of those movies are they more likely to see? Say that again. Did
she make the long list at BAFTA?
I don't remember. I think they both did.
Andra Day did not.
Oh, Andra Day did not. Okay.
So and she missed it at CCA, right?
No, Andrew got in at Critics'
Yeah.
Choice.
Okay, so there's another place where at least she pops up. So yeah, okay.
Yeah. No, it's very, very. I think Day for me was the biggest shocker. And she was 5th on my list of nominees. Although, so I was very.
I was the optimist. I think I had her 4th.
And look, I think the thing that was surprising also about Day, and you don't even need to go to Gold Derby and check odds and things when you look at the sort of, she's contending with people who are on movies that are nominated for Best Picture at the Globe. So you just think, oh, they didn't like my movie as much as the other ones, maybe, So a great win for her, and a great, really authentic moment when she won as well. And I think that's very helpful a few days before voters get ballots in their hands.
I think that's really what surprised me about Rosamund Pike, is that her film wasn't nominated for Best Comedy. And I was saying in the pre-show that, the Golden Globes, it's not like they're watching movies as they come out to the public. They have access to these things, and if they like it, if they like I Care a Lot or Judas and the Black Messiah, you would think that they would nominate it in the Best Picture category, especially when they're nominating things like music. So it really seems like the Golden Globe voters kind of voted just in the last few days and kind of really took into account all the discourse and happening around their nominations. So that makes me kind of wonder, all these other awards that are coming up, how timely they'll be.
And I told you during the pre-show that you weren't thinking cynically enough, because I was like, these movies are just coming out and people are really excited about them now. So the Golden Globe voters might perk up thinking, ooh, we can get an Andra Day win, or we can get a Rosamund Pike win, just as people are getting really excited about these films. So I thought late breaking buzz could certainly sway the. I didn't predict those wins to happen, but I thought, the Globes could move if they feel like it.
Yeah. Could any of those? There were really three women who were the big surprises in the film side: Pike, Day, and Foster. Could any of them win the Oscar?
I don't think so. It's interesting. All three of the film actress winners were the upsets. And what's interesting is I think they put themselves in stronger positions for nominations. I don't think any of them are are close enough to necessarily push ahead to a win. I do think it maybe helps or hurts other candidates more. Like Carey Mulligan didn't get the momentum boost. Glenn Close didn't get the momentum boost, but we're not going to find out who that benefits until we see who wins Critics' Choice and who wins SAG, and to see who maybe carries on momentum further.
I think of the three, the one who probably of the three, the one who stands the best chance of going all the way to win at the Oscars would probably be Foster, because supporting actress is so unclear right now on so many levels. So I think that would be. But still, that's pushing it still.
Yeah, I can see Foster win just because that race is quite up in the air. We could see it going any number of ways. So I don't think, I think there's still some story to be told in that race. So I think she's got a shot there. Particularly, you might need less votes to win that category because there are votes going in a number of directions. I wonder if, the others I think is going to be a bit tougher. But, we don't have as strong a front runner in the lead actress race as we probably do in the lead actor one for the Oscars. So maybe there can be some traction for one of those women coming down the pipeline if those films are responded well to, and they've been released quite late. So they might be some of the last performances seen by some of the Oscar voters as well.
Yeah, I can't tell if we're just way off here, about the season, which we could be. Maybe we're just too easily discounting all these people that are coming out of left field, because what we want to see is, somebody who's in first place or second place that we think, and then them winning. So then we can say like, oh, okay, they're secured as the front runner.
Yeah.
The only one of those I think that really got a boost tonight was Nomadland. Not just because it won the 2 awards, but because, nothing really won anything else. They all went to kind of films that were not in contention for the top award, like United States versus Billie Holiday. Like Promising Young Woman didn't win anything. The Father didn't win anything.
Mank didn't win anything.
Mank, Trial of Chicago 7 only won screenplay, but they gave it to Aaron Sorkin for Steve Jobs. So it's very easy to discount that.
That was a great screenplay, Steve Jobs.
Well, just in the sense of being an Oscar contender, Steve Jobs really fell off that season. So him winning for that shows that him winning a Golden Globe might be more of a Golden Globes thing than an Oscar.
The Globes do like Aaron Sorkin more than Oscar voters. Like, that is definitely true. He's won more more Globes, and he's been nominated for Globes for films that the Oscars haven't nominated him for as well, for screenplays. That being said, I think he's looking very good to win his second Oscar. It's not that the Oscars hate him. They
I think
nominated
that's
him.
It could. I still worry about what's going to happen at WGA, but we'll still see. We'll have to see about that.
I do think it's interesting, like talking, what Riley was saying, it's like maybe we're way off and we've just been misconstruing this race. And that could be, I think maybe that could be, we might see that maybe with Andra, because she fits the mold of an actress playing a real life musician with like substance abuse problems in a film that isn't as well liked as the central performance, and that's Marion Cotillard in La Vie en Rose and Renee Zellweger in Judy. So they definitely have a habit of this. So maybe this is more of a thing than we think.
Yeah, that win doesn't seem super crazy to me. If that's where, I think a lot of things need to happen. One, she needs to get nominated, but I could see that. I don't think, And since Promising Young Woman is such a polarizing film, it will be interesting. How do Oscar voters land on that film and things? And like when we see how well that film does with nominations, that could also change our adjustments in that race.
Like Andra Day kind of reminds me of 1917 last year. 1917 go on to win. But what I mean is that, nobody was really predicting 1917 to win, I think, either of those awards at the Golden Globes. But as soon as it did, and then we kind of all just accepted it as the Oscar frontrunner because it's like, okay, yeah, actually that makes sense. Maybe we should have seen that coming. There's nothing bad to say about Andra Day's performance in that film.
Yeah. It is I do think one of those points of it, not that Andrew didn't deserve it, but it is a shame Kerry Mulligan couldn't win because, I saw the film on the weekend and I'm mixed feeling, like I'm still sort of processing the film a bit, but there was no question her performance was fantastic in it. So I hope she gets some awards down the pipeline for this, whether it's Oscars or SAG or whatever it is.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like we're going to have sweeps, except maybe for Danielle Kaluuya, which is great because he deserves it.
Yeah. It's interesting. We're definitely going to get a different winner at Critics' Choice probably get a different winner from Critics' Choice because Andra is there. SAG will have a different winner because Andra is not there and Rosamund Pike is not there. And who knows at BAFTA? I think BAFTA would be probably Kerry Mulligan's strongest bet. Although I think she could win SAG too. But yeah, we're going into one of those races where it feels like every precursor says something a little bit different.
Yeah,
we haven't had that in a while.
Yeah, as boring as sweeps can be, they make the predictions game much easier.
Yeah, one thing I'm hoping for Oscar nominations is we see some comedy performances sneak in and surprise. Maybe Pike can be someone who does that because, like, the Globes have their two supporting categories for acting, and in both of those, so where they combine drama and comedy, so we can actually see, them compete against each other. And I think Bill Murray was the only comedy performance that made the supporting races this year.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so I hope that the
He should have won for that shirt.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's going to happen, but I'd love Bill Murray to win. I think was criminally robbed of from Lost in Translation from winning from that years ago for a Sofia Coppola film. So at least it'd be nice to see him nominated at the Oscars, and we can see what shirt he wears to that.
I pointed this out during like the live blog, and it's even more true than I realized that it was a very good night for David Fincher, even though David Fincher didn't win anything, because Jodie Foster, who he directed in Panic Room 1, and Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who scored The Social Network 1, and Aaron Sorkin, who wrote The Social Network 1, Rosamund Pike, who starred in Gone Girl 1. So if you worked with David Fincher in something other than Mank, you won a Golden Globe.
It's great. Yeah, I think it is. I can't remember what I was going to say. Charles, what do you want to chip in with?
Oh! Don't put all the pressure on me, man. I'm not one to grandstand. But I'm trying to think of. I thought I'm curious for you guys. What was the biggest surprise for you on the television side?
What do we have here?
There was nothing. I got
Mark Ruffalo, maybe.
Yeah, I got 3 things wrong in my television predictions. Mark Ruffalo, which didn't surprise me too much. I got Queen's Gambit wrong. I thought Small Axe was going to win, but I had Queen's Gambit in second. I knew that was one or the other. I think probably Josh O'Connor, because again, I knew it was possible, but it seemed I knew that I had the Crown winning series, actress, and supporting actress. I didn't think it was going to go 4 for 4 in its categories. I really didn't. So I thought, okay, this year, Ozark, they liked it more than usual. This could be a spot where they go for it. But Ozark was like The Undoing. They nominated 4 times, and they didn't feel the need to give it anything.
Were you surprised by John Boyega?
No, I had him predicted.
Okay.
I only got 2 wrong on the TV side, Catherine O'Hara and Schitt's Creek for comedy series. And I changed Catherine O'Hara that morning to Kaylee just because I thought, that's the kind of like new sort of thing the Globers would just go for stupidly. So I guess it was Schitt's Creek winning comedy series was my biggest surprise. I thought Ted Lasso would, but Schitt's Creek was in my second. So
yeah, I had Ted Lasso as well. And yeah, I was hoping that it would win over Schitt's Creek personally, but I was relieved that I did not have to hear another Jason Sudeikis speech. So that actually made me want Schitt's Creek.
Well, the good thing is we had I think what was really fun was the Schitt's Creek Ted Lasso, like 2 shows with a lot of heart against each other. Like you had the 2 sort of very positive, uplifting sort of comedies that sort of dominated those awards.
As opposed to, the cynicism that usually consumes all of us.
Yeah. Very much so. Let's do we have any questions in the chat room? I feel like we've shortchanged the chat room a bit in our
Oh, sorry. Am I not throwing?
Yeah, let's no.
How dare you, Riley?
Okay, I'll just
no.
While Riley pulls some of those up, I have our editor's results on.
Oh, here we go.
On film, Marcus was the top editor.
Editor's results. I don't know about that. It's just there we go. Let's move on to the comments in the chat here. Here we have somebody saying,
did sound like Marcus.
I hope the Oscars isn't virtual.
If the Oscars, I don't think they're planned on being virtual, but if they go virtual, I would say take notes from the Emmys, not the Globes, on how to do virtual.
That's what made this ceremony so weird. You would think that after as decently put together as a ceremony as the Emmys were last year, that they would have had they could have just followed kind of that format, and they really did not. I mean, those breakout things where they would had like prior to commercial breaks where they would have like nominees in upcoming categories all like. So they're supposed to be talking to each other, but they're just like sitting there, like just like not doing anything. Was just weird.
Yeah, watching actors watch television basically, and you had some weird cases where Gillian Anderson from The Crown had her screen up somewhere, and Olivia Coleman had hers down right somewhere, and it was a little bit confusing.
And well, can we also just agree that I think Olivia Coleman had the best reaction of anyone this evening when Emma Corrin won? Just like her getting up and dancing was the best.
None of the winners were so happy to win as Olivia Coleman was to lose. It was absolutely delightful. I love her.
Oh, it's so good.
Okay,
yes.
So you want to go ahead? I'll just show myself.
Yeah, let's go, Daniel. What are the results?
Okay, so we had Marcus was the best editor at 71.43% on the film side. That put him in the top 50 of all users.
Whoa! Congrats, Marcus.
Then up next,
congratulations.
Then up next was a 3-way tie at 64% with Zach, Matt, and Chris Beecham. Then 57.14% was a tie between me and Rob. And then Christopher Rosen had exactly 50%. Joyce Eng and Paul Sheehan tied at 42.86%. And tied for last place, as if you couldn't guess at this point, Riley at 35.71%. Riley and actually Tom O'Neill.
Oh, I got the same percentage.
There you go.
So I did as good as Riley once.
Tom, and it's so
you guys are in
hallowed
company. Hallowed company. Yeah, so very good. Oh, I'm happy with a tied second because I did get a few wrong in film, so I'll take that.
Riley was in the top 4,000 overall.
There you go.
So was I.
Top 4,000. There you go. It's a win. Let's there were a few questions I saw in the chat room about Minari's odds, Minari's category, and it's an international film or foreign language film for the Globes, but it will not be competing in foreign language film at the Oscars. It is an American-made film. It's not any country's submission for that. So we'll see it in that race. Also at the Oscars, if you are an international film, you are allowed in the best picture race as well. Like we saw Roma compete in both races a couple of years ago. And I actually think Minari could be could end up being your rival to Nomadland.
I actually I think that what Marcus was saying about having it as a possible winner at SAG for the ensemble prize, I think could position it to be that alternative. If you're not that crazy about Nomadland, then there's your alternative. I think one of the things that Nomadland has really benefited from is that there hasn't been a solid alternative for voters to go for. So it was really all split between at the Globes this evening between Charlotte, Chicago 7, and what was the other one? And Mank, kind of. Yeah, so I think that Minari is actually incredibly well positioned based on, because I think it's going to do really well at BAFTA, and I think that's
why would it do really well at BAFTA? Because it's not.
Well, it made a lot of the long list, didn't it?
Not really, no.
Oh, okay. Then I'm misremembering that. I'm sorry about that.
I think Minari's real strength is a film that makes you feel it tugs on your heartstrings. I can see people wanting to vote for that film, just viscerally. So I think
it's also one that it's sort of it's one of those things where it's one of those. It's a story that kind of makes you feel good about America, about the possibilities that America is supposed to embody in terms of opportunity for immigrant communities. So I think that's an aspect that could help it as well.
Yeah, no, very much so. Any other questions in the chat room before we wrap up? Anything people want to know?
Well, Goldberg always wants to know what's going on in the Best Actress race.
Oh yes, who's the front? Yeah, I saw a question before. Who's the front runner? Who would everyone say is the front runner in the Best Actress race at the moment? Daniel.
Just because I don't think Andra is going to go all the way to Oscar, I'm gonna default still to who I had before until we see more, and that's Carey Mulligan. So I still have her out front because I don't feel a reason to switch to Viola or Frances based on tonight's results, and I put Andra higher in my predictions, but not at number one.
I do think the stronger Nomadland looks, the less you can just rule out Frances McDormand from coming along for the ride. But I do agree with you. I think Mulligan's out front. Yeah. Charles?
And McDormand is a producer, so she'll win if it wins Best Picture.
No, Charlie. And Minari only missed pictures. I guess it did make a lot of
fun. Is this Best Actress? Who's the front runner?
Actress front runner. Who's actress front runner?
Write and vote for Scarlett Johansson for Marriage Story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who it is. That's I think that I kind of think that I want to say Carey Mulligan, but her losing tonight doesn't give me that much confidence. I mean, I still think she could win. I would like to see her, win something before I think that she's the front runner. But I'm very wary about SAG because SAG did respond very well to Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and they do like Viola Davis. They gave her the win for The Help back in 2011, and I think she could, in a weird race like this, where it doesn't look like we're just gonna have someone sweep the season. I could easily see her taking SAG over Mulligan, and then that just throws this whole race into a big question mark. So in response to it, I have no clue.
Okay, Riley.
Sure, I'll say McDormand.
Wow.
Yeah. And then at SAG, we're missing so many of these films. Like Charlie makes a great point about how, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom is pretty strong there. And films like Promising Young Woman, Nomadland, The Father are all missing from Ensemble. So that's great for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and it also could provide, such a boost to Minati if it wins Ensemble.
Yeah. Any other last questions before we bid everyone an adieu?
Who do we think is the front runner right now for supporting actress?
Asking the hard questions, Charlie.
That's I'm in the same position as I am for Best Actress, because I don't think Jodie Foster is going to win the Oscar. I think this is great for her chances of being nominated. But so I'm sort of left with where I was before, and it's Olivia Coleman, which is honestly just by default now. We'll have to see what happens at SAG, especially because without Amanda Seyfried there, whoever wins SAG could be very important. Will it be Olivia Coleman, or will someone pull an Emily Blunt and just throw SAG completely in the trash in terms of its value of predicting the Oscar?
How well Minari did, I wouldn't rule out Yoon Jung.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think she's the one I'd sort of like to put money on. Anyone right now I would, but I think Olivia Coleman is the placeholder front runner for me, because I could see anyone else, as I think Daniel said this earlier, I could see anyone else missing out on the nomination. I feel like once the nominations come out, I'll have a different front runner, but for now it's Coleman.
Do we think it's possible, or that Glenn Close could not win a single precursor but still win an Oscar?
No.
Yes,
probably not.
Cares
but
about that movie for Glenn
you
Close.
never she's got to win something before, because if she won everything before, the Oscars for The Wife, and it still didn't happen at the Oscars. She especially for a film where there is this much, she needs passion. She needs Bohemian Rhapsody passion, because if the only reactions to that film are apathy and antipathy, it's not going to do well for her at the Oscars. So yeah, she really needs to win something.
I think she can win without winning anything. I disagree. I think that it wasn't because they didn't support her or whatever. They were just passionate about Olivia Coleman in The Favourite, is why she lost, I believe. And I think if they're not feeling any one of these actresses, if there's a bit of a split vote, maybe some voters go, well, let's make it up to Glenn here. I could see her winning in this race, depending on the nominees, depending on the set of race. I think she could win, especially if the award goes a whole number of different ways before the Oscars.
That's largely why I've had Olivia Coleman in first place for most of the season. It doesn't really seem like there's any passion for her performance, given how she hasn't won anything. But the field is just so scattered. I feel like she's more of a default at this point than Glenn Close with the Oscars.
Yes. And by no means am I predicting
to do over again. If the Oscars had a crystal ball and they could see this year coming, they would have given that Oscar to Glenn Close for The Wife, because then in a race this scattered, I feel like, and coming off of The Favourite, Olivia Coleman, I feel like would be such an easy front runner.
Well, I don't think the Oscars care about that, or they would have just awarded Glenn Close then, because people wanted Glenn Close to win because it was all about the narrative, right? People weren't super excited about The Wife, but people were really excited about Olivia Coleman's performance, and that ultimately won out. So I think
and it wasn't a movie. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was just saying it wasn't a movie that tied for the most nominations that year.
But still, the overdue narrative does contribute, when Julianne Moore won on Still Alice's only nomination. So there is. I really thought The Wife was gonna be that for Glenn, and I think just did after it won. She won everything. But I think if they thought okay, we've got another chance for Olivia really soon for a really good film where there's going to be no other obvious favorite choice. I feel like Olivia would have been not necessarily a slam dunk, but I feel like she would have won things by now if she hadn't won the Oscar for The Favourite, just because people are they loved her for that and she didn't win for it, so we want to give her something now, especially on top of The Crown.
Yeah. That's very, very fair, and we'll see how it all plays out as we continue on our extended, belated awards derby for 2020. So yeah, thanks so much for joining, guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat room for contributing. Obviously, you can go to goldderby.com to make your predictions. Not for the Golden Globes anymore. They were today. But you can make your predictions for the Oscars, Screen Actors Guild. I don't know what other awards are coming up.
BAFTA. We got BAFTA.
The BAFTA.
We got the Grammys
coming up. Yeah. Watch some
Because
interviews.
Grammys.
Watch some interviews. We've spoken with some of these awards contenders. Daniel spoke to a couple of the winners from the Globes today. So it's very exciting. And goldderby.com, place to be as we head towards some of the biggest awards in Hollywood stuff.
Yeah, I would like to plug my Rosamund Pike interview, because nobody's ever put me on the spot more than she did during an interview, and that was great.
Well, I'm glad someone is. I'm glad someone's putting you on the spot, Riley. So